Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of First Impressions. As many of you, or maybe all of you, have already gathered, this series is focused on breaking down the attributes and abilities and giving a first impression of the 9 new leaders that we will be seeing when the release of Gathering Storm comes in the middle of next month. February 14th to be exact. Before we break down the Molly here and give our analysis, I just want to give the disclaimer just so that people are aware. I try to make this at the beginning of all the episodes. While I am going to give an overall view of the civilization and how they will play and try to cover the civilization for the casual player as well, at the end of the day, at the end of the episode, we're going to be breaking down their abilities as it is pertained to playing it on Deity AI. I think it's important to provide that perspective in one of these first impressions videos, because I think there's a market for it out there. It's what I play. It's my expertise. It's what I know in this game is the Deity level difficulty and how to play it and how to optimize your strategies. And so I have a unique perspective on making sure that people understand how these guys are going to relate to that higher difficulty level. So when we break down the different victory conditions and give them an overall analysis and a critique, that will be the main focus, is how they perform at that level. But I will try not to ignore the fact that there's other people playing this game at different levels with different agendas as far as enjoying the game and just playing it casually and just hitting that next turn button and just enjoying it on that level. Trust me, I used to be one of those people playing other Civilization games in the past. You get home from work, you just want to unwind, play the game. Next thing you know, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I've been there before. And that perspective is important, and I'm going to try to give you a perception of what I feel about that side of it as well. But ultimately, like I said, from a deity perspective, when we analyze it in the end. Okay, enough about that. Let's break them down, folks. Mansa Musa of the Mali, often considered by historians to be, for their time, the richest person ever to live. Pretty crazy, lofty things. And boy, did they make them just right to fit that persona. The Sahel merchants, I apologize for any bad pronunciations, international trade routes gain 1 gold for every flat desert tile in the origin city, and receiving 1 trade capacity every time they enter a golden age. So if you are able to line up your golden ages well and achieve them properly, you get to keep these trade routes beyond the golden age finishing. So if you can string together golden ages, by the end of the game, you can have an additional 3 or 4 or even 5 or 6 trade routes, just accumulating more and more and more gold. And all this extra gold, I mean, you're going to be able to have at some point, you're going to have a desert bias. So at some point, you're going to have a city that might have 5, 6, 7 or more flat desert tiles in the city. And being able to get that much extra gold every turn for every one of those trade routes, massive amount of gold. Massive amount of, and I'll be saying that a lot in this video. Massive amount of gold. This civilization is all about massive quantities of gold. I'm going to get this wrong. Songs of the Jelly, I don't know. I'm sorry. I probably should have done some research on how to say that better, but there it is. City centers gain +1 faith and +1 food for every adjacent desert or desert hills tile. So this is going to help because obviously, like I said, they're going to have a desert bias, and sometimes it's hard to get that growth and anything beneficial out of the desert. But getting at least a little bit extra food in the capital, or not in the capital, sorry, but in all city centers, will just help a little bit with growth. You're going to want to put your cities obviously kind of on the periphery of the desert, so you've got some regular land, non-desert land to one side, and then the desert on the other, in order to take advantage of the synergies. But yeah, if you can get an extra 2 or 3 food and an extra 2 or 3 faith in those cities, and keep in mind, another good thing about this as well is the early Pantheon advantage for this. Getting the early Pantheon and getting your choice of Pantheons is an extremely important part of this game, particularly when you're playing on the higher difficulty levels. And being able to put your city center, where you have maybe 2 or 3 adjacent tiles, that's 2 or 3 faith right out of the gate every turn. It's only going to take you on standard speed maybe 7, 8, 9 turns, 10 turns, depending on how many you get, how many tiles you get to get to that Pantheon. And you're going to get maybe not first choice, but pretty early choice, and start to take advantage of it from the very early game. Moving on, mines receive +1 production. Or sorry, get this right. Mines receive -1 production and +4 gold. So this is a really key point about Mali in general. Sorry, well, Mansa Musa, but the Mali Empire in general, is that you're looking at having a massive amount of gold, and how are you going to use that and translate it into the production of other things. So to be honest with you, this is going to be kind of one of those high-level skill civs where, in order to really take best advantage of them, is knowing how to spend your gold, knowing when to spend your gold, knowing when to how to optimize your policies to make sure that you're using the gold properly, because you're going to have major issues with production, but you're going to have all the gold to make up for it. It's just a matter of making sure you do it properly. The -1 production on mines is not great, but that +4 gold is huge. There's a kind of common conventional wisdom that 3 gold equals 1 production. I mean, people might have a different perspective on that, but really you're giving up 1 production for 4 gold. That's more than a fair trade, I can assure you. And then beyond that, you may purchase commercial hub district buildings with faith. That can be great because it allows you to get get your market online really quickly. You finish your commercial hub, which of course they're going to have a special commercial hub. You can just spit the market out real quick with faith, and then the trade route's online that much faster. And then of course down the road, being able to get the bank and eventually the stock exchange with faith, not having to waste production on it, which is of course you're hurting for production. So being able to get those with faith and get the money online faster, it's all about getting the money with these guys. So that's a nice advantage. And then finally, -30% production when constructing buildings or training units. Again, a pretty big hit. But I think this goes back to what I was saying about the high skill level use of these guys. People are going to be frustrated playing with these guys if they're not understanding how to use that gold properly. They're going to be a very interesting civilization to play with. I'm looking forward to playing with these guys multiple times in order to find the best way to capitalize on the mechanics of the game to use the gold to your advantage. Because I honestly can see a situation where you emphasize gold to the absolute nth degree and literally just build your districts and then spend your gold buying all of the buildings. You can actually there's actually going to be some interesting stuff. I'm not going to get into it too much, but there's going to be some stuff in the World Congress which is actually going to make your gold even more valuable towards purchasing stuff, including buildings or units or whatnot, if you get the proper if you're able to get the proper passing of whatever legislation you want in the World Congress. So there's going to be ways you can manipulate it that way. So I can see many situations where you're actually probably not even going to be building a lot of stuff. Get your districts down. You can even run a reina strategy where you actually purchase districts with gold, because again, you got lots of it, but in particular, saving that gold and making sure you have enough to buy the districts, buy the buildings in the districts that you need the most, and certainly funding your military by buying the units as well. So those are important concepts to keep in mind. Is how are you going to turn the gold into the production you're missing out on otherwise? Let's move on. Another way to get even more gold. Look at all the gold symbols just everywhere. The Mali unique medieval era unit replaces the knight. Trader units are immune to being plundered if they're within 4 tiles of a Mandakalu cavalry. That is extremely valuable. Having them spread around just one every 4 or 5 tiles or whatever around your trade routes, so that when you have random barbarians popping up all over the place, you're not going to have to worry about the traders being plundered, which is just so annoying sometimes. So that's a really valuable aspect. And then of course combat victories provide gold equal to 100% of the unit's base combat strength. So just, I mean, you can see yourself just spinning a bunch of these out. It's a replacement for the knight. So knights are so great because you can build super cheap. You can build a bunch of chariots. Build as many as you want, 10, 12, 15, whatever. Build a whole bunch of chariots early in the game. You can even, with these guys, buy a bunch of those chariots. And then just use all that gold to upgrade them, get your mercenaries card, and upgrade those units to your special unit, the replacement here for the knight. And then you're just going to have them all over the place. Just go around farming barbarians for gold, get into a little skirmish with a city-state or another neighboring civilization, and then just farm the gold off of their units. Again, these guys are all going to be about the synergy of gold, and this just works out perfectly. Finally, the special unique district. I'm high on this for one reason and a little bit low on it for another. Let's walk it through. A district unique to Mali, specializing in finance and trade, that replaces the commercial hub. Units, buildings, and districts are 20% cheaper to purchase with gold and faith in the city. So you can see this is one of the synergies that works with the lack of production from the Songos of Jali. Instead of going ahead and trying to produce those buildings or units or whatever with the production, you instead get yourself very, very quickly to the special commercial hub technology, get them built as a priority right away, and then you can just start buying all the units and buildings with gold. I could honestly see a situation where you get your city down, put down your districts, and then just start running commercial hub projects and just maximizing the gold that way as well. Go out and synergize gold across every aspect of your nation, and then use the synergies to pump gold into buying your buildings, buying your units, and doing all the things required to work towards whatever victory condition that you're going for. Again, it's going to be a lot of high micromanagement and high skill level. Casual players may not be as interested in some of that, so they may actually find these guys a little bit annoying to play with, because they're going to have all this gold, but it's going to take forever to do other things, and they're not really interested in putting all the pieces together in that gold puzzle. So it could be interesting for those guys, but for people playing it at a high level and enjoy this aspect, it's going to be a lot of interesting kind of meta, if you will. I'm not a big fan of that word, but there's going to be kind of a way to play these guys, and people are going to try and break that down, and I'm going to be one of those people. +2 gold bonus as well for each adjacent holy site, and +2 gold bonus for a tile containing a river edge, which is the normal adjacency for commercial hub, and then the gold bonus for every 2 adjacent districts, again, the normal adjacency. So I'm high on this district because it's, first of all, it's going to be half price, as all special districts are. So you're going to be able to, not only are you going to be able to get to that tech quick, build it super quick so you can get the buildings purchased with gold and whatnot in all your other districts, and have that synergy to buy the units with gold as well at the discount in those cities. But so like I said, I'm high on that first paragraph. I love it. The second one, it's unfortunate that the adjacencies are essentially the same for this commercial district and all other commercial districts if you're not going to build the holy site. For people who like to just play casually, maybe they want to get a religion just for the fun of it and stuff like that. So why not build a holy site? Then you build holy sites around those commercial hubs. You get that extra 2 production per turn, or 2 gold per turn. Eventually it becomes 4 gold per turn when you use the government card. But ultimately, it's kind of, I'm not a big person on building holy sites unless you're going for a religious victory. I just feel like there's no point. And on deity especially, you have to give up so much in the early game in order to actually get a religion, and it's not going to be worth it when you've got other focuses with this particular civ. And then ultimately, you're going to have to waste production building holy sites in order to get the extra 4 gold adjacency. And it's just, at what point does it become worth it? I just feel like you're giving up. You've already built your commercial hub, now you're building a holy site. If you're going for a science if you're going for a science victory or a culture victory, you've got to get your campuses and your theater squares down. So at what point are you going to have time to build this holy site to make it worth it in the long run? If you do that early, you're going to have to get to pop 10 before you get both of the other essential districts down. I just don't see the advantage in that. So a little bit of a downside on that commercial hub in that perspective, but overall, I think it's great. So let's break it down. In a word, cha-ching. Of course. I thought of like, it could be money, money, money. There's this, the gold, right? All the gold. Cha-ching. In a number, I'm going to call them a 7. But again, it's a 7 based off of, you know, really micromanaging the details of how to play with these guys. Science, I'm calling them a 3 out of 5, as well as that 3 out of 5 in culture. And as well, I think I gave them a 3 out of 5 on military as well. And so people might be wondering, well, they don't have any actual ability to do those things. Like they don't have any raw science or raw culture or something like that. But the gold economy, a gold economy in any run with any civilization is essential, particularly late in the game. I often find myself buying most of my research labs in a science game or most of my broadcast centers in a culture game. I purchase with gold all kinds of essential things in the second half of a game when you're accumulating massive amounts of gold. Sometimes in a game I'll have 1,000 or 1,500 gold a turn. These guys I could see myself having 3,000 gold a turn with these guys, just through the roof numbers. They're going to be off the charts. And using all that gold to be able to buy all the buildings and being able to buy those buildings much, much faster is going to give you the opportunity to get the economies of science or the economy of culture online that much faster because you're not having to wait for the production to actually happen. So the gold is going to synergize well with all kinds of victory conditions, funding your buildings for science and culture, funding an army, and just being able to spit units out as fast as you could possibly imagine on a military perspective. And then finally, from a religion perspective, I'm going to call them 2 out of 5. Maybe I'm being a little bit harsh here because they do get the bonus faith around their city centers. But there's, aside from that, I guess the other thing too is you could go for the Pantheon that gives you adjacencies around desert. So maybe I'm being harsh there. Maybe they're a 3 out of 5 there. I don't know. I'll reserve judgment on that. I think they're a solid 7. They're like definitely in the top half they'll definitely be in the top half of the rankings of overall civs. I think they'll be interesting to play with. I keep saying that word a lot, interesting to play with. I think they'll frustrate some people if they're not using their gold properly. But I think it's going to be a lot of fun for people who enjoy min-maxing all those details and strategies and decisions. So that was it, folks. Don't forget to like this video if you have enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't. Check out the game of the week. I'm sure there's one up right now that you could go check out. Currently, right now, I'm uploading the Australian run where we just had a ton of fun crushing the science. So check it out, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.